This is a Course in Miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. This course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. A reading from Chapter 15, The Holy Instant, Section 9, The Holy Instant and the Attraction of God. As the ego would limit your perception of your brothers to the body, so would the Holy Spirit release your vision and let you see the great rays shining from them, so unlimited that they reach to God. The great rays shining from them, so unlimited that they reach to God. It is this shift to vision that is accomplished in the holy instant. It is needful for you to learn just what this shift entails, so you will become willing to make it permanent. Given this willingness, it will not leave you, for it is permanent. Once you have accepted it as the only perception you want, it is translated into knowledge by the part that God himself plays in the atonement, for it is the only step in it he understands. Therefore, in this there will be Therefore, in this there will be no delay when you are ready for it. God is ready now, but you are not.
So, we were discussing just a little bit about the great rays. Not really clear. It's kind of an enigmatic reference to something that seems like a different metaphysical tradition.
Yeah, because it capitalizes it, making it equal in a way to the Holy Spirit. And so blue is the will of God. Yellow is the power of God. Pink is the love of God. White is the purity of God. Green is the healing aspects of God, and it's also included as concentration and consecration of life to God. Then there's a ruby ray that has the peace of God, and the violet ray is freedom and transformation. So,
well, a little light science, is that light, the colors of the rainbow, if you collapse them into one beam, in other words, that's diffraction. The reason we see a rainbow is because the regular solar light is diffracted through water. And that creates this density deal, and that's the same with a prism. When you throw this white light, it's the cover of the Pink Floyd album, The Dark Side of the Moon. Where the white light hits, it fragments into these 7 bands. Now, you'd say, well, it should be a continuum, and it is a continuum. However, ironically, for whatever reason, it does seem to break down into these discrete 7 color areas. Now, the thing is, white light breaks into 7 bands of color, and so if you recombine those 7 colors of light, you will end up with a white light. You'll end up with white light. Now, if you're painting and you take those exact same colors, but you're using oil paints, you end up with black.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, to me, there's something that might be interesting there about our problem. Is that if I see people as not being light, of course, I don't see Joanna as a light being, I don't see anybody as a light being, but the perceptual shift is to see light as emanating, that this body is created by this light that's effusing, it's radiating out somehow. And it's not a matter of I am the thing that receives light so that I have pink colored skin and, gray hair or whatever it is that I got going. In other words, I'm not an object upon which light mixes when it hits my body, thus turning black. See? And if I were putting light out, then you could see that it's emanating from white light into a diffracted 7. Whatever's going on there, it says, it is needful for you to learn what the shift entails so you will become willing to make it permanent.
Right.
It's not an experience. I've talked about it so many times. I've said the word is a perceptual shift, etc. The Course is saying it needs to be permanent.
That's
if you can believe it. I know not to be daunted by that, but that would be the end game.
Yeah, and then the following sentence is, given this willingness, it will not leave you.
Okay.
Yeah, and let's just go back. It said, yet it is needful for you to learn just what this shift entails, the shift that allows you to see the great rays. Given this willingness, it will not leave you. For the great rays isn't seen through your eyes. It's a vision. It's from someplace else. It's not the normal way of seeing. For it is permanent. Once you have accepted it, it is the only perception you want. It is translated into knowledge by the part that God himself plays in the atonement. I consider that translation as a grace, in Christian terms. Translated into knowledge by the part that God himself plays. God plays that connecting, which is that part where they say, and then God makes the final step. Our willingness moves us towards God, and then God reaches back, and that is the grace.
There's this aspect, and this goes back to the light conversation about if you mix pigments, all pigments result in black when you mix them. All light results in white. All the pigments of all the colors of the rainbow they turn white. So, in Chris Langan's universe, in his explanation, or John Wheeler's, I'm not sure which is which, he says that every object is information. Every object is information. A rock, a person, a situation, a context, an interpretation. Every single thing out there that I would look at as an observer, me being the observer, that is information, and I am the observer. And that is, I am making a creative choice of what that object is. Rock. What do you do with a rock? That's great. I can throw it at a dog. Or what is a rock? Oh, it's a gem. This is really wonderful. Oh, it's igneous. It was formed under the ground under so many, I have these judgments. That's the rock is talking to me, telling me about itself. That's a language. The rock has a language, and it's my job to understand that language. And I understand it creatively by understanding it as something. The whole world is that way. So what we're talking about here is if I see you as a thing that light strikes and turns into pink or red or whatever like this, then I'm in the dark world. Okay, that I'm in the world of pigments. I'm in the world of mixing pigments, and the underlayment of that is death and impermanence and all these other problems. If I look at the world as being objects that just kind of receive light, and yet if I see those same objects as emanating light instead of receiving light, they are a source of the mind of God, whether it's a rock, a person, a situation. Then I see in my perceptual field, I know this is weird, I'm just winging it, if it comes into my mind as white light, it says God will speak to you there. If I can see these rays, if I can see this light coming from a person, God gets that. Okay, that's something he can understand, and that's his role in the atonement. That's what he just said there. And so I get a chance then to see that white light.
And all of it's communication.
It's all communication.
Yeah, it's all communication. Yeah.
So paragraph 2.
Yeah.
Our task is but to continue as fast as possible the necessary process of looking straight at all the interference and seeing it exactly as it is. For it is impossible to recognize as wholly without gratification what you think you want. The body is the symbol of the ego, as the ego is the symbol of the separation, and both are nothing more than attempts to limit communication and thereby to make it impossible. For communication must be unlimited in order to have meaning, and deprived of meaning, it will not satisfy you completely, yet it remains the only means by which you can establish real relationships, which have no limits, having been established by God. See, now the other side, I'm going to go back to it. I know that this is weak. I just got to run with it, this pigmentation thing. Mm-hmm. If I view you as an object that receives light and not a being that emanates light, if you're emanating light, I am too. Right. And that light mixes.
Yes.
That's forgiveness. That's true communication.
That's true communication.
And it's uninhibited, unlimited communication. But if I view you as something that receives those rays, and now I'm receiving those rays, well, we kind of pick and choose what we want to do. But if I'm emanating, you can't control it. It's a mixture that happens spontaneously, called full communication.
Right. And, it's important that those couple of lines in there about the body is the symbol of the ego, and the ego is a symbol of the separation. So, and separation will mean as soon as you're wanting to see your brothers and all those people that you meet in life as just a body, as just the personality, as just what they're wearing or how they look or how they go about their lives, then there's no way to experience those moments of the holy instant. It has to do with letting go of all those judgments of people and things around us, but in particular people, because that's what the Course is all about. It's about relationships with others, the others that can relate with you on a real communication basis, which is usually other people in other bodies. So it's important that if we want to see communication from a different perspective of just, a voice with a voice box out of a meat suit, then we have to be able to be willing to hand those ideas that we think are about another person over to the Holy Spirit, so that those holy instants can occur. So,
well, the beauty of having a life, an ability to work this world where I'm just looking at objects. I'm not talking about people. I'm talking about literally rocks, railroad ties, telephone poles, things in nature, trees. I can observe in those really a peaceful, seemingly passive situation, what am I bringing to it? What do I see in the tree? What do I see? Just pick up a rock. What am I seeing here? What do I see with a rock? I pick it up, and to say, well, there's nothing creative going on here. It's a rock, man. It's a dumb rock. You just made a creative decision.
That's true.
You just made a creative decision to call it a dumb rock. And if I'm relating to the world in that way, it's going to definitely go into other people as well.
Right. I agree.
If I'm the kind of guy
Yes.
that just looks at everything as dumb and it doesn't matter and it doesn't, there's this thing in Buddhism as well where they'll talk about, like, how do you place the book down on the table? You got the book, and do I place it? Am I placing it? Do I open it this way, or do I toss it? And how do I feel if I just toss it? How do I feel? In other words, can I respect objects? And is it possible then to not respect objects and just to treat them as junk? Just stuff, because they can be replaced, and for that not to bleed over into my relationships with people? I would say
no.
most no.
I would say no. I would say that whatever you feel towards objects, whatever they are, is going to be partially what you're going to experience, or not even partially, but that's the way you'll experience your world, whether it's people or anything else. And I said that, the Course is about the communication with other bodies. That's where it tends to go, because it wants us to, it's perhaps where we judge the most is other people. And so, but that being said, for myself, if I take a nature walk, where I'm away from a bunch of bodies and it's just me and nature, that's when sometimes the spirit seems to be more available. For people who just want, you just are making things a lot more simple so that life is speaking to me in that quiet space without all the hubbub and everything else.
But but the thing is, sometimes there's a tendency to say, see, I see the beauty of nature, but I don't see the beauty of people.
Yeah.
I see the beauty of nature. Now, I'd say, okay, well, maybe go into nature and see if you're kidding yourself.
Right.
You know, in other words,
well, I mean, if you're walking along and all of a sudden you stepped on a bee's nest, nature's not
no.
not so fun.
I'm saying, is it possible that your beauty of nature, is it possible that your beauty of nature is that there aren't any people?
Oh, right.
That's what's beautiful about it.
Oh, yeah. Well, that could be.
So that's negative.
That is negative.
Oh, then it's great. No noise, no people, no nothing, just mountains and stuff, just junk, but quiet junk that leaves me alone.
Yeah.
That's not very positive.
That's true. And that's what a lot of times what people do.
Exactly. So observe. I guess
it's an avoidance of people.
Again, self-observation.
Right. Yeah. But it tells, as you said, the first line in this one was like, our task is but to continue. I guess it's in the relationship to communication as fast as possible. The necessary process of looking straight at all interference and seeing it exactly as.
Okay, I just want to note that little phrase here, as fast. I think we say,
yes.
Isn't that ASAP?
Yes, ASAP.
Isn't that what we call ASAP?
Yes, it
so
is.
The Holy Spirit or Jesus is saying our task is to continue ASAP.
Yeah.
The necessary process.
Looking straight at the interference. And
so why? If this is
if it's going into nature to avoid people, that could be an interference with communication.
Exactly.
That's there you go. Yeah. And you have to see, because all judgments then are interference, whatever they are.
It's just a matter of being honest with what I'm up to. Like if I pick up a rock and I look at it and I go, just observe the mind. I'm not observing the rock, right? Mm-hmm. I'm observing my mind. Mm-hmm. If I go into nature, is that tree speaking to me? Is that lake, that stream, is it speaking to me? Or am I self-absorbed and just going, oh, wow, this is great, bubbling brooks and rocks, this is so beautiful, where I'm like walking around on my own calendar opportunity.
All right.
And I'm not really there. It takes self-observation to understand, am I really being communicated with by nature? Or am I just scoring another 14?
Now people walk around with their little device and they record it also. They're secondly removed because they're not even there for the regular observation. They want to go home and review it later on.
Right.
That's a weird thing.
But I just want to amplify this as soon as possible. I think that's an absolutely, because it's saying, what's my use of time? Jesus wants me, or the author, wants me to use time quickly, efficiently, get to this. You got a job to do, you got a function, it's called forgiveness, ASAP.
Right. That's true.
It doesn't say it very often, but it says it here.
So, and also it wants the communication to be unlimited in order to have meaning and not deprived of meaning. So the communication with God is an unlimited communication.
Well, it's a holy instant.
Yes.
And that's the only time we're going to get it.
Right.
Not walking in nature. No, unless it's a holy instant.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, a holy instant in the ghetto with barking dogs is more communication with God than communing with nature out there, just looking at mountains and streams and stuff that are just supporting my ego.
Depends on how you're going about it.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, paragraph 3.
All right. In the holy instant, where the great rays replace the body in awareness, the recognition of relationships without limits is given you. But in order to see this, it is necessary to give up every use the ego has for the body, and to accept the fact that the ego has no purpose you would share with it. For the ego would limit everyone to a body for its own purposes, and while you think it has a purpose, you will choose to utilize the means by which it tries to turn its purpose into accomplishment. This will never be accomplished. Yet, you have surely recognized that the ego, whose goals are altogether unattainable, will strive for them with all its might, and will do so with the strength that you have given it.
Okay, what are you hearing there? It seems like there's a lot of information that was sliding by.
Well, you're not going to see the great rays so long as you have body awareness.
Right, for the ego would limit everyone to a body.
Yes.
For the ego's own purposes. And while you think it has a purpose, it has a purpose, you will choose to utilize the means by which it tries to turn its purpose into accomplishment. Okay, what's going on there? The ego's trying to get something done, and it's trying to do it on the back of another body. Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's the way that's pretty much the way I interpret it.
So the ego's trying to get something done, and it sees another
See,
body.
the ego's all about getting. I mean, that's, what can I get from, even in a love relationship? It's a perceived love relationship, because two bodies through the ego's eyes, there's a bunch of give and take. It's like, well, because you bring this to the table, then I bring this to the table. So you get something, I get something, and that's how that's what we in general call love, particularly if it's mutual getting, something positive in our own minds out of the quote relationship. So that is not communication. That is just people coming together to get something out of it. And our entire, quote, capitalistic society is based on how many bodies you can get to create a product that is going to bring about a bottom line that's positive. I mean, there's all this stuff with bodies and what you can get out of it. To me, I mean, that's so the ego definitely uses bodies for accomplishment, even personal goals. Run a race. The accomplishment is that, am I going to be winning? Am I going to be third in line? What kind of accomplishment can I get? How much weight can I lift? How much?
Well, Course in Miracles is saying that the important thing here, I mean, it's brought up the rays again, the great rays, which is light. Okay, the great rays are light. So I'm going to go back to the painting analogy. That when you're doing an oil painting, you're striving to accomplish a sense of light. And paintings are judged often by the sense of light that it brings out. Right. And they'll use any trick. And the thing is, when it comes right down to it, all you got is a bunch of mud. And you can only get so much white paint. And I don't care how white that paint is, unless you got a Santana black light poster, no matter how much paint you lay down, it's going to be really some level of gray. There's no such thing as white. There's no such thing as light coming off of a painting. So a painting is judged by the illusion of light. There's no light there. It's an illusion. This is the way our world works. That's what the ego's trying to do. Create illusions of light so that you can be deceived into thinking that there's light there. Look at what this painter did. Look at the sense of light here. Painter of light. And that's this great thing. And it's an ego stroke, and you accumulate these things. But any idiot can see that if you squint at that painting, it's all kind of gray. And if you look at just even a gray day outside, the light factor is like 5 times what's coming off that painting.
Right.
In real terms, light is light, and it's real.
Right.
And this is what it's saying. Do not settle for the illusions of light that the ego strives to accomplish in this world, because that's a shell game of just fooling you. In other words, the way paintings, the way you get light is through contrasting colors, and by establishing, severe darks and light, and then tricks of things that look like light reflected or light piercing. It's a trick, and that's in representational painting. My point is to say, yeah, that's great. It's great to be a painter. It's great to be Rembrandt or something like that. That's fantastic. But do not be fooled. The best painting in the universe is millions of degrees worse than reality. Reality is made out of light.
Right. And again, it's not a perceptual light that we necessarily see with our eyes. It's kind of beyond the eyes. In fact, I'd heard, and I don't know if this is true or not, but that space itself, what we see as a dark sky might actually all be light, and where the pins of light are, or actually it's the reverse, it's the negative. That, in other words, the thing that's suspending all of the planets and
That's a weird
stars
thought.
and everything else, our eyes see it as black with little pin lights.
Oh, since we don't perceive light, we're not seeing the radiance.
No, we're not seeing the
It's a clear
radiance
radiance of black.
that holds it all together.
Right,
Like we
right.
don't see, because God is everywhere and stuff like that. So I like to use the sky as a potential, because our eyes can only see from light that is projected from something.
That's a mind blower, because I'm
or
looking.
reflected off of something. So if all the planets and stars are actually picking up the reflections of something that we can't see, and then that looks like pinholes. So it's a reflected object.
Right.
It's not really a projected object of light.
No. If I'm using physical eyes, my physical eyes
They deceive you.
cannot see
The light of
real
God.
light. It can only see visual light.
Yeah, it can only see
And so
visual
it
light.
can't see the radiant creative force
Right.
as light.
And considering that eyes, I mean, the eyes of someone, of a cat can see at night, where we cannot see like that, and everything else. So you have to understand that our eyes are only as good as what they were designed for within the body, to see.
And they were built to deceive.
And they were built along with our ears, our nose, and tongues.
That's right.
All of it. It's great to have them. I don't want to not have them, but
Paragraph 4. It is impossible to divide your strength between heaven and hell, God and the ego, and release your power of creation, which is the only purpose for which it was given you. Love would always give increase. Limits are demanded by the ego and represent its demands to make little and ineffectual. Limit your sight of a brother to his body, which you will do as long as you would not release him from it, and you have denied his gift to you. His body cannot give it, and seek it not through yours. Yet your minds are already continuous, and their union need only be accepted, and the loneliness in heaven is gone. It is so beautiful, and it's like I would say right now, to suspend the word impossible, suspend the word that this is a fairy tale, suspend the idea that this is a nice idea, and say that it's giving a reality, because it's also saying, until I view it as the reality, I will continue to see things as clumps of stuff that have problems.
right. And it says that don't do this game of dividing your strength between heaven and hell, God and the ego. Release your power to creation, which is the only purpose which it was given you. Release. What does it say here? Release your power to creation. So love would always give increase, but limits are demanded by the ego and represent its demand to make little and ineffectual. Complete opposites. Love will give increase. It's an ever-expanding thing. And the ego it squashes it down and limit. The ego will limit then communication. It won't let the true communication occur. So long as I want to see my brothers as bodies and judge them as such, the communication between me, the Holy Spirit, and God will be.
Everybody,
not be
this
there.
is what I'm getting. Everybody, no matter what that body is, no matter what it is built out of the 7 rays, is built out of light, okay? Now, if it's a person, they're attacking me and whatnot, and I'm in a situation where this kind of thing, obviously I can be in a situation where my senses are overwhelmed, and when my senses are overwhelmed, I become locked into the physical view, and then it's eat or be eaten, kill or be killed, use or be used. It's like that kind of thing. If I'm locked into my senses. But it's saying that the possibility is always there to unlock the senses and to not be limited to the senses and to use this vision of the Holy Spirit. And that is where I say, as we covered in the last section, 8, we covered in 8 about creation is all here. Yeah, okay, it's here. And the future, what we would call the future perfection and beauty and wonder of God, or the past, the perfection and beauty of wonder of God, where it started, however you want to look at your inner Big Bang, it is here, all present in this situation that I'm in this situation, car wreck, mugging, whatever it is that's going on, And in that, there is always the possibility of this release of that light, of the future perfection, informing this moment and activating this moment to move me towards what it's calling here, to release my energy towards creation. It wants me to take my energy and not be, oh my God, this guy's beating the hell out of me and I'm afraid. Okay, it's going to happen, right? I'm going to be terrified out of my mind. But the prayer is, the request of the Holy Spirit is, let me use my energies for creation and not to waste it in these circumstances that can arise, that suck the life out of me and that make me feel like this is a dead end, or this is evil, or this is wrong, or this is whatever. I want to orient myself to the resurrection. I want to orient, and it's not la-la land thinking.
Right.
It's the work ASAP, as soon as possible, to use my energy and be able to release my attentions into the creation and not the makings I have of fear and contraction and judgment. I know I'm get trapped. It's and this is where the Holy Spirit comes in.
Right. And really, I don't even know if I can release myself into creation. I mean, without calling upon the Holy Spirit, there's no way.
No, you can't.
That can happen, because as soon as I say, I'm going to do this, well, who's saying I'm going to do this? I'm going to release myself into the creation.
No, it's going to be the ego using, as it said in that other paragraph, using.
So it's important to recognize whenever we think that we're going to, quote, do something, because our doing has to do with willingness. It has not to do with an actual doing most of the time. It has to do with the willingness to have the Holy Spirit's answer to whatever is coming up in our lives at any moment. And it's this section here is constantly saying that the body is not going to give you the communication that you're
Okay, let's say I got I don't know, for some reason. Now it gets into another thing about why I'm manifesting or why I'm participating in a mugging, let's say, or a car wreck, let's say, or a sickness or terminal illness. Something is up that's horrible that I don't want to have anything to do with. Okay, something is up. And it says, yet your minds are already continuous, and their union need only be accepted, and the loneliness in heaven is gone. So if I contract because of that illness or that mugging or that war or whatever it is that's going on,
it means that we made the unreality real. That's what ultimately it means. Because
but I can find that, and it's the mistake, it's the error, it's all kinds of things. Let's just say,
it doesn't mean that the body doesn't hurt and everything else, because that's the way we experience this world. I'm just saying that all the things that happen in this world have, in a way, that it's already happened, and it's like we're on some kind of crazy loop of going through time and re-experiencing the same things that body can experience.
I know, okay,
over and over again.
But no matter what, now is real.
Yeah,
now equals reality.
That's right.
Now is real.
That's true.
Now equals reality. So if I'm on some sort of looper situation, like I'm in a science fiction thing, the now of that moment has redemption in it.
Absolutely.
That now of that moment has the resurrection present in it. No matter what hellish, stupid ass decisions I made to get me into the situation I'm in, the now of that series of wrong decisions has light in it.
Absolutely.
And it's always available, because it's hell to not be available. So no matter how nasty the situation, I'm going by the book here. I'm telling you, I've been in situations where I've been absolutely contracted down into my lowest, smallest, tiniest, fearful place. I'm not saying this is like some sort of cakewalk.
Right.
I'm saying, but I have to remain, in a sense, that the light is available as this continuous communication. So that in that the only time that communication is continuous is in the mind of God. Now, if God's not going to mug me, God's not going to put me in a car wreck, God's not going to do this number on me. So it's a mystery, right? I mean, there's a mystery there of the wheels of what we would call karma, or the physical laws working themselves out. And it's one of the lessons. There are no laws but God's laws.
Right. There are no laws but God's.
Okay, and now's time for an Isaac Tigert story.
Okay,
I got to tell you, Isaac Tigert. Isaac Tigert started Hard Rock Cafe, and he's got these great stories about his relationship with Sai Baba. They are so wildly entertaining to hear. Well, anyway, one time, Isaac Tigert he's in some sort of a Spider, I forget what they're called, but it's an incredible sports car, and he said he's driving like 130 or 140 miles an hour on these winding roads, and he was also on drugs at the same time. And he goes careening off the cliff, and his car is headed over this 100-foot drop or whatever it was, 50-foot drop or whatever, and he looks next to him, and Sai Baba is a holy man from South India.
From South India.
South India. He's dead now. Dead. Anyway, he's sitting in the car next to him, yes. and he said, Isaac Tigert says he put his hand on him like this and held him in the car. And the car goes careening. He said the car was absolutely totaled into a crumpled tin can. And he walked out of that. He walked out of it. So he tells all of these stories where he was saved. Right. So what I'm saying is, I'm not here to advertise Sai Baba or anything like that. Just the stories are very entertaining. They're wonderful. I'm not going to diss But anyway, I'm under no laws but God's.
Right.
And then the simple reality is, if I'm in relationship with the rays, and if they are communicating with me, I'm not trying to be in La La Land. I'm not trying to say we don't have to experience pain. I'm not saying it. There are no laws but God's. Have I worn it out already? Is that good?
I think so. Paragraph 5. If you would but let the Holy Spirit tell you of the love of God for you, and the need your creations have to be with you forever, you would experience the attraction of the eternal. For one can hear him speak of this and long, no one can hear him speak of this and long remain willing to linger here. For it is your will to be in heaven, where you are complete and quiet in such sure and loving relationships that any limit is impossible. Would you not exchange your little relationships for this? For the body is little and limited, and only those whom you would see without the limits the ego would impose on them can offer you the gift of freedom.
And the need in the first line, and the need your creations have to be with you forever, you would experience the attraction of the eternal.
Yeah, and the Course uses that word attraction quite often, that to be attracted to something.
Your creations.
Yeah.
That's what it's saying.
Yes.
I'm attracted, and it's eternal. Eternal means out of time.
Yes.
Non-temporal. So again, we all have glory. Sounds cultish, but we have all gloriously participated in the creation of God's beautiful and wonderful, whole, peaceful, just, wonderful world without flaw. We've already participated in it. And our participation is stored as our creations. And those creations are going, good job. Good job, good job. Congratulations.
And everything else is
Why are you dragging yourself through the dirt? The faster you catch on to this is what you're up to, the faster you catch on to you're having this glorious role in this glorious teleological moment of God's mind manifest, whatever that form, or being in the mind of God.
Yes, being in
the journey is done.
Yes.
The journey is done. The faster you figure out how you got there on this journey, you're going to want to sprint. You're going to want to get over this rocky part of the path and get to the smooth stuff.
Right.
And the holy instant is your way of going over this rocky path without busting your foot every single step you take.
Right.
You can
And
dodge
so, I
the
mean,
rocks.
as the opposite, you would experience the attraction of the eternal as opposed to the attraction of pain and suffering and separation that we normally do through our regular ideations of each other and the world as all these separate objects are, as you said, I'm an object and that's an object over there and there and there. You're an object in my life, the microphone and everything else. As soon as I'm willing to let go of this, I need to see how all this separation works together, in some form or not, where it's discordant, then I will have the opportunity to experience that attraction of the eternal. I have to let go of my attraction to the separation of all things because we like our separation of all things. It makes things different and it makes things nice. Something's nice, something's not so nice. We like to do this comparison, at least, of, I like this one over here, so I like that color, and I don't like this one over here because I don't like that, whatever it is. We are constantly in a perceptual game with ourselves of what our likes and dislikes are, our comfort levels, our pain levels, our joyous levels, and everything else, all subject to constant changing. Whereas this thing that they're talking about, an attraction to the eternal, is the most unchanging, beautiful extensions of God's will and God's attributes of all those things. I mean, that are joyous and wonderful.
Well,
we want those things.
when I was a kid and I used to cut the grass, when I cut my own lawn, okay, when I cut my own lawn, I hated it. I mean, it's like my dad was a taskmaster. He had me do all kinds of irrational things, and I didn't get paid, and it was just no fun whatsoever. And I was completely aware of every second that I was cutting the grass, and it was no fun. I'm spaced out. I'm trying to really avoid it and do it at the same time. Now, when I took the lawnmower and I worked for other people and I was getting $3 a yard, okay, really insane, but I felt well paid. Long time ago. But anyway, so I was doing that, $3 a yard. I was unaware of the passage of time because I was going to get $3 and I was going to buy a baseball glove, let's say, with the $3. And I knew that I could get the baseball glove for $25. That means I cut the grass 8 times. And the only thing I was aware of is cut 8 yards. That's all I'm aware of. I'm going to cut 8 yards. I didn't care about the effort. I didn't care about the gas. I didn't care about any of it. So ironically, I know it's a kind of a weak, in a way, example, but I was truly in a timeless space when I sensed that I was in a transcendent moment at the end, where I'm getting a baseball glove as a transcendent moment. And the Course is saying that I have creations out there, which are the equivalent of my baseball glove in the future. Do not think that you're supposed to get your needs met on the yard. That's not the point. I'm supposed to understand beyond this. Now, people will say you need to live in the present.
Well, this present is where the eternal is.
Right. Okay. Good point. Isn't that it?
Yeah.
So
Present
in this
is where the
case,
eternal is.
it would be the equivalent of and that's
Well,
where
isn't it kind of funny that while you're doing these lawns, so long as you have the goal of the eternal, which is a glove, in this particular example, you're not experiencing time.
right.
You're actually your attraction.
Okay. So there you go. Because of the glove, that's illusory, but I'm out of the time sense.
Yeah. So there are things that when we're up to tasks in our lives, usually it's under creative things, but it's kind of interesting that when the mind can go someplace that has something beautiful that it desires, and it's saying be attracted to the eternal. Timelessness comes in. It's actually asking us to desire that attraction to the eternal. Because in that way, while you were doing those tasks, you're not experiencing time as a drudgery like you would normally do, because there's this other thing out there
Well, I'm using it as a counter.
I don't know if that's...
That's exactly correct.
Okay.
You said it better than I did.
Okay.
I like that.
Okay.
That was really nice.
All right.
And I'm using it as a counterpoint to this idea that, sort of like life is this drudgery and then you die, the bumper sticker. And I don't want to, it's not like I just got to grind my way through this and look at a bowl of ice cream as my reward, etc. Jesus, the Holy Spirit here is saying, understand that you get a taste of the reward of heaven in the holy instant. Make it your business to, as quickly as possible, savor those holy instants of turning things around in the reperception, calling in the Holy Spirit. That's the work. Forgiveness is the work. It says it again and again. And the beauty of that work is, like you said with me cutting the grass, that is the timeless place.
Yeah.
And without it, we are stuck, caught in time. So it's a motivation to experience the holy instant by understanding what this thing is saying and experimenting and trying to figure out how that works.
Right.
Don't you think?
Yes. Do the lessons.
Anyway, paragraph 6. You have no conception of the limits you have placed on your perception and no idea of all the loveliness that you could see. But this you must remember, the attraction of guilt opposes the attraction of God. His attraction for you remains unlimited, but because your power, being His, is as great as His, you can turn away from love. What you invest in guilt, you withdraw from God, and your sight grows weak and dim and limited, for you have attempted to separate the Father from the Son and limit their communication. Seek not atonement in further separation, and limit not your vision of God's Son to what interferes with His release, and what the Holy Spirit must undo to set Him free, for His belief in limits has imprisoned Him. So, because I have the power of God, I share that creative power. I can focus it on remaining a lunkhead. I can focus it on being in pain and in overcoming my pain through forceful, heroic efforts of my own with no assistance, with no sharing, with no 7-ray communication thing going on. I can make that effort, and it said, you will not accomplish it. It will be you. And with the painting analogy, the best you're going to get is a dim imitation of real light.
Yeah. God, the attraction between myself and God remains unlimited. But that attraction to guilt, which is any time I have, again, where I want to judge all of the little things in my life and lay them out in separated ideas, then I will lose the attraction to God in the eternal, because God and the eternal are the same. They are the same thing. You want to have that be your primary movement is towards that kinds of attraction versus, oh, that person, this thing, and we've had a barking dog here. That's just, I have to just a new neighbor with an incessant barking dog, and then sometimes I don't hear it anymore and stuff like that. But it's just been a thing to
now that's a good example. Okay, so there's a barking dog. It moved in. Now that is a creative offering that has come into our life. Is a barking dog.
It's a place to apply.
It barks and barks and barks and barks, and I mean Joanna's dealt with it. But anyway, there's details on how you do it. You go next door, you talk to the neighbors, you do this, you do that. But the fact remains, it's something sort of outside of my control, and I can either be flogged by that situation or turn it over to the Holy Spirit. It's a barking dog, right? And I hate talking to people. I mean, I'm lucky to be with Joanna because she'll just she'll disappear and then she's over there. Hey, your dog's making noise. I mean, I'll sit there. I'll deal with it for months and months and months, becoming a seething.
Do you not hear the barking dog?
Yeah, right. I know. I'll journal. I'll fill up journal after journal with my anxieties and problems, but I will not go next door and knock.
I will.
So I mean, but that's a problem for me. That's a problem for me. I don't want to mix it up with somebody else, and it also limits the. I'm a person who sits there and prays for miracles, and
the miracles.
But I don't do anything.
Knocking on the door.
Exactly.
I know.
Exactly. Follow that up.
Yeah. Well.
No, exactly. That's the deal.
Well, the thing of it is that
the miracle is often initiated by an action of some sort.
And in all honesty, I had to. When it first was happening and everything, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to go over there and say something. And I decided to just say, you know what? I don't know what the outcome is going to be. I don't know what's going to happen or anything else. And I'm just going to not hold any energy or ideas about it. Yes, it was bothering me, but I'm not going to place any judgment by knocking on their door and making that person a bad person or something. I'm just going to say, I've got a barking dog. It's late at night. Could you please? So it depends on what you're coming to, what you would consider a confrontation. Am I confronting, or am I bringing the Holy Spirit with me? Is the Holy Spirit with me when I go there or not? Because if I'm doing it through my whole egoic one body to the other,
you're going to accomplish something.
I'm going to accomplish something, but it's not going to be peace.
I mean, but I'm saying if you set out
because
with
now
the idea
now
that
it's
you're
an attack.
I know, but if you set out with the idea that you're going to accomplish something, as it said in the course, then you're going to be in an attack mode. You will be in attack mode, and you will receive some response back that's in that attack mode.
Yeah, you'll receive the neighbors not looking you in the eye, running around.
I know, but right. But so what do you do? What do you do to not be in an attack mode? I mean, my thing is I work myself up into a rage. Not a rage necessarily, but a froth and anxiety. And by the time I go talk to somebody, it's like, you're a dog, And I'm just like volcanic. By the time I talk to them, it's really a problem. There has to be a lighter touch to be willing. Now I've been rewarded, okay? Every time I have done that, where I said, okay, all right. Oh, God, I hate to do this, but I'm going to go. And I try to get it right. I try to get into a right space, and I make that contact. I try to get it beyond my attack mode. I am rewarded for that.
Yes, yeah.
But, it's a real limit of mine. I really don't like that spot.
Right.
Some people do really well with it.
You have to recognize that if you're going to enter in a conversation with somebody where you already have a sense that you're right and they're wrong, and those are my judgments and things like that, there's no room for the Holy Spirit.
So the dog, you're right, because obviously to me,
I'm
come
right.
on, moron, you got a barking dog, it's 2:00 in the morning, figure it out. Some of us have to sleep out here. That's not a good place to be when I go talk to them.
No, I have to drop that first. I have to be specific about what I think needs to happen without any energy in it. I have to just say, at that point I'm going, Holy Spirit, I'm going to do my part, and then I'm going to leave it up to you.
You march your body over there and let the Holy...
I have to. I'm not saying I'm always good at it. Sometimes I have the same anxieties or whatever, but this last time I did, I went over there, and but then when it happened again, I was starting to...
Then you call the cops.
Then I was like, darn it. What is the matter with you? Can you not hear that it's 10 o'clock at night and the dog's been barking for hours now? So as soon as I knocked on the door, they ran out and they got it, and they didn't even answer the door. They did not even confront. They just like, oh God, it's the neighbor.
Okay, I know, but but wait, there's something going on here. There's something going on here. You're training people. You can't train the dog.
No, I can't train the dog.
So you're training people. You're trying to achieve peace.
I want peace.
And then I said, I'm talking about being saved from car wrecks and terminal illness. What about a barking dog? Jiminy Christmas. It seems like God could handle that a lot easier. Doesn't it?
Yes.
Doesn't it seem like a barking dog is a piece of cake compared to terminal illness?
But see, we're having this conversation, and now are you willing to hand it over to the Holy Spirit to have the perfect neighbors now? Are we willing to say, Just like we had some odd neighbors before.
No, okay,
you know,
that's a good point. But listen, if I see those girls,
that's what it comes down to.
if I see the girls next door as, manifestations of the great rays, I'm not kidding. If I see them and I say, okay, these are light beings, right? And the dog is innocent. I mean,
Right.
the dog is just
Right. They
it's
just
an
tied
idiot
him
dog
up in
that
the back
barks, and
and
nobody's
that's what it
training
is.
it. So the girls are these radiant beings, and and if I can say, okay, I'm this radiant being, and we have to be in proximity, in communication. I can't communicate. Hey, shut up, dog. It's like the dog. Dogs don't speak English, and so
And sometimes they get really mad.
so I would have to go over there and be in the space of understanding all of us as being light, and that I'm being given this opportunity. And then to allow the Holy Spirit to deal with the opportunity, because I don't know what the opportunity is.
Right, I don't know what the opportunity is.
But I have to just go over there and just state my case,
Yes.
as you did, calmly. But to recognize, if I can, that a situation has arisen that gives an opportunity for forgiveness.
Yes.
The forgiveness isn't for me to do. The forgiveness has to come from the Holy Spirit entering into that. We got light rays, we got 7 rays here and 7 rays here, and we come close and we say, not getting our sleep. Okay, I understand. We got a dog. I don't know how it's going to work out.
No, you have to say, I don't know. Right. You do have to say, I don't know. You have to, when you go into a situation that it's potentially a conflicting...
And not have an idea that it's going to work out a certain way.
Yeah, I know. And I have to leave that all open. I mean, that's the whole idea, is that I don't know what this needs to be. And I don't know if my interactions with them, because this is the first time we've had neighbors, because we have a rental unit next door, that... I usually can get to know them a little bit just by talking to them before, but they've just been, they run around and just hide in their house. I don't even.
Okay, but that's part of the setting.
So it's possible that that the dog is crying out, so it's going to cause this, a communication thing to happen, because right now they're keeping themselves isolated. I usually always talk to my neighbors.
Well, that's an interesting viewpoint. Is the dog is a cry for help, a cry for love.
And
the
so
dog is a cry. Literally, the dog is their voice saying, someone come over and break into our sphere. If I could see the dog that way, and instead
I'm not
of me
saying
just
it is, but that's the way I have to kind of look at it.
I know, but it's a healing story.
Yeah, it's a healing story.
It's a healing story if I view the dog as a cry for help, a cry for love from them. They're not going to yell. They're not going to bark in the front yard. No. They got a dog that will do that. And so if I view it that way, then I'm answering a cry for help in this situation. And I can see, well, how will this work out? How will this go out? And the idea is for me not to tolerate it long enough to drive me into a rage or to be so overwhelmed with lack of sleep or whatever. It's to move on it as soon as it seems problematic.
Right, exactly. And also to recognize, everyone runs their lives in ways that they think is beneficial to themselves. And, for all I know, the dog wants to tear up the house if they leave him inside, so they don't. I don't really know what the situation is.
No, we don't know that side.
We don't know. So, and because I haven't had those kind of conversations with them and stuff like that, I don't know their situation. But nonetheless, no reason for us all to stay up all night because of a barking dog. At any rate, so those are opportunities when things come up. Small things, not so small things. If you're not having sleep, obviously it's not so small.
No, it's a huge thing.
Yeah, it ends up being a huge thing.
A good friend of mine literally sold their condo because the guy upstairs would watch television and tap his fingernails on the floor.
Yeah. There's things like that because we're sensate, so unless I'm going to sleep with my earplugs in all night long, So no, everything is an opportunity for, again, we need to know that it's either love or a cry for love. It's being love extended, or it's a cry for love.
But okay, and there's a physical aspect, which is, as long as I see the parties involved as clumps of body, of physical forms.
And in your own mind, they're stupid because why can't they?
Right. Why don't they catch up? They weren't raised right,
or something.
But if I do have language like the Course offers, that no one is a clump of stuff, that we're all radiant, and that everything is either love or a cry for love, I can have a different toolkit to deal with the conflict. I think I could even go over there and talk to him with that mindset.
Right. Well, next time it's a problem, it's in your court. Okay. I think, was there anything else in that?
No, paragraph 7.
Okay, paragraph 7. When the body ceases to attract you, and when you place no value on it as a means of getting anything, then there will be no interference in communication, and your thoughts will be as free as God's. As you let the Holy Spirit teach you how to use the body only for purposes of communication, and renounce its use for separation and attack, which the ego sees in it, you will learn you have no need of a body at all. Isn't that great? No need of a body at all. Okay. In the holy instant, there are no bodies, and you experience only the attraction of God. Accepting it as undivided, you join him wholly in an instant, for you would place no limits on your union with him. The reality of this relationship becomes the only truth that you could ever want. All truth is here.
You have to believe that this is possible. One has to believe, and the only way to believe it is to have the experiences. We talked about that. There have to be witnesses. So it's not unforgivable. Everything's forgivable. But it's sort of wrong or ignorant of me to do the Course in Miracles and then to fear having a conversation with somebody about their dog. That really requires, because, this is like if somebody's afraid of getting on an elevator, that's called a phobia.
Yes.
And you can't just say, come on, get on the elevator, it's no problem. No, they're gripped with fear. And so if I'm terrified, for some reason, certain situations like that I hate them. I hate those confrontations. I can't stand them. Okay. I would rather just earplugs, plug my ears, rearrange my whole house, block up the windows with bricks. I would rather do anything but go talk to somebody. That's a problem.
Particularly if something is that you need to confront.
That's
somebody.
A problem.
Yeah.
And even as we're talking about it, I would have to, it behooves me to do a little bit of introspection of what that's about. Why do I love that separation between me and others? Why am I so afraid of presenting my requirements, even if it's something like a barking dog at 3 a.m? Why am I afraid of it?
You have to understand that if you're in an attack mode, you're also being afraid of an attack back. Okay, so I have to approach all forms of where you're approaching somebody. That am I going to approach it in a way that I want to attack that person and make them wrong and everything else? Or am I going to approach it like, I don't know all the circumstances. I'm just going to say my part and let it fall.
As you let the Holy Spirit teach you how to use the body only for purposes of communication. And we talked about what it means by communication.
Well, communication
means full communication.
It's full communication. It's not me saying something.
Laying down the law.
No, it has to do with me recognizing that I'm approaching another light, another being who doesn't know who she is any more than I haven't known who I am in life. So I have to approach it with, I don't know. Like I said, that's my best way is I don't know what the circumstance needs to happen. Maybe it's supposed to happen a couple of times because they themselves are shy, and the only way that there's going to be any communication with my neighbors is that it's because of their dog. I have no idea.
Well, analysis, as it says earlier, analysis is useless. There's nothing to analyze.
There's nothing to analyze.
It's always the now moment of, I feel there's a need for communication. I feel there's a need for communication. And it's not Phil laying down the law. It's not me going over there and reading the Riot Act. It's going to be real communication.
Right.
And recognizing that they have initiated. They've said, please come over and talk and just communicate with me. They've asked for that.
Yes.
And if I go over with the idea that there can be that communication, and leave that one up to God.
Right.
Don't leave it to me, because I don't understand it. I'm freaked about it. So if I go over there, I can see what is there for me to learn from them, because they're beckoning me. And I'm not trying to be funny.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, you and I had, two what we considered like atrocious renters when we had our rental unit. And they left after I had to evict them. It was just a crazy situation where the woman ended up being schizophrenic, literally schizophrenic. But at any rate, and the problems with the downstairs renters. So, but you and I both approached it as these are not the enemy. We didn't want to just throw them out on the streets. There was a couple there.
Oh, there were so many problems with them. I'm not even going to go into the problems.
Right. However,
they ended up. I missed them when they left, and
I know I did too.
I loved them. They're great. I said,
and I felt bad about the whole situation, but I couldn't let it go on because I was going to lose the other renters as well. I mean, everything was going chaotic.
And you know what? They didn't blame us when they left.
No, they didn't. I mean, she'd had these problems before with other times. But at any rate, so in each instance, you have to. I mean, I'm not saying I'm great at any of this or anything, but we're all just human. We're just beings who have lost our way. And so when people are having problems or having dogs that are barking because I don't know if they can keep the dog inside the house.
But if you recognize you're not just human, if you can go over there with that thought, we're all just human. Now realize I'm not just human.
Right, exactly. We're all light. Yeah. We're all sons of God. The Holy Spirit's going to be all on the side of peace.
And then just work towards communication. And the Holy Spirit works with, as it said earlier, it was either this one or the one before, whatever elements I bring to this situation are the fodder for the communication, for the holy instant.
Right.
It doesn't have to be perfect. I don't have to be in a perfectly centered state of mind. Mm-hmm. I mean, if all I can muster is fear and loathing, but recognize that that's my limit, that's my bag of problem, and I go over there with it, with my prayer, going about my request to the Holy Spirit, it can be revealed.
Right. And it comes in all kinds of situations. I just remembered another one where a prior partner, I was making I made a great lamb stew when he wasn't watching me. He liked to watch everything I did. So I made a great lamb stew, and he goes, "Oh, that was so great." But the next time he was with me, he was telling me how everything needed to be done, and it did not come out near as well. Whereas, and also
when people perform per prescription,
yes,
things don't go well.
Right.
And if I have a prescription for the neighbors and their dog, or if I have prescriptions for myself, I'm going to get whatever limited, messy, muddy result can possibly come. But when you are spontaneously in the creative act, assuming that when you're cooking the lamb stew, you're on your own, you're in your own space, you're not dealing with limits, you're dealing with your creative gestures in the lamb stew thing. But as soon as another eyeball comes in there and says, no, it needs to be this way, it needs to be that way, giving you prescriptions, it doesn't go well.
Right. And also, I mean, I can do it to myself. And, cooking's just a good example. So that when you're moving around the kitchen and everything else, if I think I have a time limit, speaking of time and everything else, time, space, then it's likely something's going to start to burn, something else is bubbling, all kinds of things are happening. Whereas, I'm just saying that. I'm actually speaking out loud that I need to bring the Holy Spirit in my cooking process, because sometimes I'm trying to get everything to stay hot and happen all at the same time, and it makes me nervous. And when that happens, things don't go right. So there are all kinds of opportunities to bring the Holy Spirit into your process. And if you're under time crunches, which happens so many times in the life of humans, that's a perfect opportunity to bring the Holy Spirit and say, I don't know how I'm going to get all this done. I'm going to leave it up to you. I'm just going to approach it. I'm going to go from this point to this point to this point and see how it comes out. And you, as you know, you've done that when you were doing the course, and it always gets done on time. Or there's a delay.
No,
what has to happen.
The limits of time and space are by definition always what the issue is. The limit.
Right.
And the Holy Spirit's reinterpretation is always, I know you think you're limited in time and space and all this kind of thing. Right. But if you have the intention to not experience that limit by inviting this in, then you can experience your unlimitedness. In other words, the time doesn't really affect you. The space doesn't really affect you.
Right.
It works out.
And it stays at peace. Everything stays at peace, and
Right.
it's beautiful. All I'm saying is that there's tons of opportunities to use the holy instant in your lives. So I hope you will.
Okay. Is that it? I know it is.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you, everyone.